if you're growing flowers or thinking about growing flowers, you want to get the most out of what you're growing, because if you do grow flowers, you know it can be pretty hard work to do that. So I'm going to share with you how I grow fresh larkspur, and also how I dry that larkspur and how I cut it for creating naturally dried everlasting flowers. So there's three things that you really need to consider when drying flowers. One is what you grow. So I've got a couple of varieties of larkspur here. One is called Misty Lavender and another is just the ordinary blue, and truthfully the blue is going to dry better than Misty Lavender because it's a more intense colour. So when to cut? You need to cut when the stem is the most perfect flower. Drying them is not going to rescue a stem that's just gone over. In fact, you need the most perfect flower for drying. They need to be even better than for fresh almost. So when they are at their peak of perfection and you know that you're not going to cut them for fresh, then is the time to cut. But importantly, you need to condition them too. So seems a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it, for drying a flower to create an everlasting one, that you would actually then just rehydrate it. But the reason for rehydration is to make sure that you get a really stiff, perfect stem, and that is what you will eventually dry. Now, larkspur has these little very kind of fine leaves, but even they carry moisture, so I will strip away all the leaves, and the reason I do that is because it takes water away and you've got more chance of drying the stem quickly and to maintain that colour, because that's really what you want to do. I learned ages ago that I need to group my colours together, because otherwise you just end up pulling apart your bunches to try and find the colour that you want. So always try and group the same colours together. I tie them with elastic bands. When you dry, the stems shrink, so they'll end up on the floor unless you tie them like that. Even with the most skilled string, they end up on the floor. Dry them so that gravity helps them. But I wanted to say, when you're cutting them on the plant, to get more of a crop, cut the top and let the nodes grow underneath, because you're not looking for super long stems for a bouquet or anything. You're just looking for a stem that you can use for you know, like a dried wreath or something. So that way your plant will give you even more flowers. So once you've got them dry, which will take about a week, then I wrap them in newspaper. So here's some that have been drying, and you will see that the ends are not quite stiff yet, but just leave them and they will stiffen. But you could see the colour is still quite intense, and that's because I've dried them out of direct sunlight. Now I will leave this dry because that tip has not yet dried, so don't panic if it's a little bit like that, a bit wobbly. Just leave them and let gravity straighten that end. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have, I'd be delighted if you consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Fierce Blooms. I grow sustainable flowers in our canal side cutting garden in Cheshire in the northwest of England, and it would be lovely to have you say hello. Thanks so much for watching.